Good morning and welcome to the channel. No, this is not the cabin. As you saw in the other last video anyways, you would see that I had to wrap up there because I had this job starting, so this will be a new series. What I'm doing, we'll take a break from the cabin build probably for about 2 months depending on how this job goes, and then I have another bathroom job after this. So I'll give you a quick rundown as to what's happening, where we are, and what the game plan is. Okay, so we're down here in the basement of this new project I'm starting. Upstairs is a regular house where the family lives. The wife is in occupational therapy, so she'll be using it downstairs as her new practice, where she'll begin soon and start receiving patients. Basically, there's a bathroom here, which will stay. There was a kitchenette there. We'll turn that into a room where she can work with clients, as well as a big room here, which I'll be spending most of my time in today's video anyways, working away at this. This big room, we'll be dividing it up into 2 rooms, so a wall will be going right about here. You can tell that there will be a doorway on each room, obviously, coming out of the hallway. So yesterday what I ended up doing, I didn't record too much of it, but I did it a little bit, so I'll show you that now. I opened up this doorway, which went pretty well, pretty easy to enter into the second room that we'll make after we divide this big room into 2. And then I began insulating, making sure I had my safety stuff on, put on my long sleeve shirt, and got to it. Took a bit of time. We doubled up the insulation because they're 24-inch on, or because they're 10-inch on centers. We ended up getting bats that were designed for 24-inch on centers, which means I had to cut them twice in half, about to 10 3/4, 11 inches, so they would fit up in there well. And there was a lot of pipes and ductwork and electrical and plumbing that I had to cut around, so it was a little more tedious than I anticipated, but we got it done mostly, and that's where we are today. There's a little bit more to do up in the insulating the ceiling. For the most part, the goal is to deaden the sound and make it as quiet as possible. So to give you a rundown of what's happening with each wall, is this main wall that was already existing has drywall in it already. That's dividing the hallway from these main 2 rooms. We'll be adding Sonopan, which is this green stuff here, and then resilient channeling and 5/8 drywall on top of that, and that will be our finished wall. On the ceiling, we have the cavities already filled up with Rockwool soundproof insulation. So from this point on, we'll add the Sonopan onto the joists. We'll add resilient channeling, and then we'll add 2 layers of 5/8 drywall. And then for the dividing wall, we'll basically do the same thing. We'll build a 2x4 wall to divide it. Sonopan, resilient channeling, and 2 layers of 5/8 drywall. So there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of material that has to go on, but the whole idea is to try and eliminate any vibrations, which are a big factor in noise. Definitely a big process. You have to do everything twice, almost 3 times if you consider the Sonopan, but it'll be worth it to have 2 separate rooms that are quiet, not interfering with the family upstairs, and with 1 room influencing the room right next to it either. So for today, the plan is to finish up the patchwork on this wall. It doesn't have to look pretty, as you can tell, because it will be covered, but I do want to make sure there's no voids where sound can transfer, so I'm putting some mud on all the seams that I can, and then hopefully we'll start the green board Sonopan on the ceiling. That's the goal. So I'm gonna mix up some more mud for this, a couple more patches I have to do, and then we'll start on the ceiling. The patches, like I said, don't have to be amazing because they'll be hidden with the Sonopan resilient channeling and everything. I just want to make sure there's no continuous void for sound to transfer through. I haven't used this technique before, but it's always all over social media saying how great it is, so we'll give it a try. I don't even know. Okay, I don't know what to do here. I think you have to coat the back with mud. Maybe. Sure. Just make sure there's some mud here. Full contact is always good. The mud I'm using is 90, so it dries fairly quickly, unlike regular mud. Do this one down here too. not sure I would do that if it was a visible wall. Just a little messy. So I should be able to throw my sheet up on that drywall lift, push it against this ceiling. Should be pretty straightforward. I'll have to measure out my lights as well. I'll just disconnect them and drill a hole where I need them to be, drop the wire down, and then probably reconnect them. The homeowner again measured them all out where he wants them, so I'll just follow those measurements. Should be pretty straightforward. And then that hole where the wire does come through, I'll end up caulking as well with some acoustic sealant to help again with the noise transfer from the upper level. And now we're ready to get going. Basically, here's the dividing wall we'll put in. It does have to jog a little bit in order to make the door work, the second door that I installed work. And then here's the old kitchenette that we'll be turning into a working area as well. So for the light layout, we just have 33 inches off the finish wall, and then centered. And then all I have to do is transfer what's written down there onto here. So off of that wall, 34 7/8, taking into account how much we have to build it up. And then off of this wall, which is we're not doing anything with, it's an exterior wall, 33. And I'll just follow that and mark off everything I have to mark off. I'm not quite sure how to cut this, so it'll be a little bit of an experiment. I've marked center for the holes are because I just want to drop that wire through. I don't want to cut out the full 4-inch pot light. I'll do that in the drywall. And then I've cut a duct out, which is the, I think it's a cold air return. No, sorry, it's a heat duct in the ceiling. So I will be cutting that full dimension out. And I think I'll just use a spade bit for my wires. And then I think I'll just use a, whatever this tool is, jigsaw, for the circular cut, because I don't have a 5-inch hole saw with me. And I will put on a respirator because I feel like that's probably not good to breathe in. Let's give it a whirl. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. That's a lot of dust. So I might leave this on. Oh boy. It handles a little weird. A lot more difficult to pull those wires down than I thought. Okay, I got the first piece up and in place. It was a bit of a struggle. It's so not rigid, it's so flimsy that it's just not very similar to drywall in that regard. So there's a bit of a dip in the middle here, and I think it's just the whole piece flexing, so I'll screw from the center outwards to avoid any ripples or anything. And I hope it's not any drywall, or I hope it's not any insulation that's fallen down in the bit of a struggle I had pulling those light wires through, because they're so short. I really had to reach in there and try and pull it down and whatnot. But I'll fill up my pouch with some drywall screws and tack it on. Okay, that first piece is up. It went okay. I think the next pieces will go a bit better. I also have to make sure that that insulation is pushed up as good as I can because I think it was causing it to flux a bit. But again, the resilient channeling will help a lot with that. So I'll carry on. I'll probably just finish off this row, cut that last piece, and then I'll probably end up staggering the joints while I'm at it. So I'll put you on a time lapse and we'll see how we go. Okay, that's gonna do it for today. I'll give you a quick view about how far I got. Not as far as I'd hoped. So the ceiling is done. Took a little bit longer just dealing with those light wires. They were short enough where it was just awkward to pull them through a small hole when I put the panel up. So in the next episode, I'll come back and do this wall with the Sonopan, and then when that's all done, I'll be able to caulk any voids that I need to fill in for the acoustic sealant. And then after that, I'll do resilient channeling on both the wall and ceiling, and then we'll start drywalling. It does feel like it's gonna be 3 layers of drywall because it's just as much work to put this stuff up, if not a little more. So slow and steady will win the race. That's gonna do it for today's episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next one. Not today, Junior.